Welcome to the Carpet Cleaning Success Podcast. AI Marketing Experts is your backstage pass to the future of marketing. Hosted by a powerhouse crew of AI-savvy entrepreneurs, including John Clendenning, this weekly show unpacks the tools, trends, and real-world applications of artificial intelligence in digital marketing.
Everybody, back to another exciting episode of the AI Marketing Experts. John Clendenning hosting for this week, Carpet Cleaner Marketing Masters, and I've got my distinguished panel of friends that are going to be sharing all kinds of cool ideas in the world of AI to help you better run your business, understand the massive trend that's changing right in front of our faces, and how things are rolling out in the industry now. Little bit of a bookmark. So you'll remember, and I bug Jen all the time about how Jen and I were swearing at our chat GPTs and our 5.1s back in August. And if you've ever watched something called the 2027 project, that was right on the timeline. It gets advanced to the point we get pissed off, and then it turns the corner and there's an inflection point. We feel it in the industry, like just living this every single day. There is an inflection point where human beings are using their AI, as Chris calls it, their $1,000 computer on their hip, to answer questions that they would have asked their friends and family. Word of mouth is now the device. 1% at the beginning of January 2025, arguably 30% or higher at the end of 2025, fastest adoption in human history. Are we 80% this time next year? Are you in the game? We keep talking about it. That's why you're here. That's why you're listening. And we're going to go talk about what's hitting the industry right now, trends, things changing, things you should pay attention to, and how you can be a leader in your industry and let your competitors lag behind so you're pushing forward and getting the biggest benefit from that. So with that said, hopefully everybody agrees with the premise here. CES is really cool. So CES is the consumer. Does anybody know even the acronym stands for? But it's Consumer Electronics Show. Thank you. And it's like it's automation and AI. It's like flying cars with nobody in it. It's all that they exist now. They're rolling out in Dubai. They're rolling out in place. This is not just hypothetical. You can buy stocks in these companies. They're already starting, right? So this is the Jetsons 2026. Right. So, and it's moving that fast and it's going way because AI can now fly better than a human ever could. So you don't even have to touch the controls and you can go from rooftop to rooftop, and that kind of thing. So that's what CES is. And they're talking all about automations. Now, the AI and automation experts, industry leaders are still stressing, and this is an important topic that we like to talk about, is that while AI is accelerating execution, especially on repetitive tasks and things like that, I'm just reading the headline over here. Creative strategy and brand voice still need a human in the loop. So the tools are great for the grunt work, but it's not a set it and forget it, hope and pray, let it go out. Oh crap, it just damaged my entire company and my brand. That's not what we're talking about. So with that headline in mind, I just thought that was a really intriguing headline to me, is like, hey, that kind of dovetails into what we're talking about. And these guys are making like autonomous robots and stuff like that. So if they're saying that, how does that fit back into the local marketer? So who wants to go first and say, agree or disagree, the human in the loop with these using all the AI tools that we talk about? Laura?
1,000% agree.
Okay, we'll go with Jen. Yeah, Laura was smiling most, but we'll go with Jen first.
I think it's so important to have a human in the loop. If you think about your AI, it's going to want to please you and agree with you and do all of everything correctly, and which is great for many things. But when you're talking about your brand and your messaging and like all of that, if all you're doing, if AI is always just agree without pushing back in the areas that humans would and should, your brand messaging and voice, it just might be wildly different compared to what you want it to be. Just in that process. And that's just like one example of why you would want a human in the loop with brand. So super
Chris,
important.
what's your input on that? Because I know you build things that where you put a lot of checks and balances where it does something and stops and waits for somebody to look for this exact reason. And that was one of the reasons why the headline caught my attention. Even just to let it loose on your team. Hey, write this email back to this client. Is there, you know what I mean? Things like that. You wouldn't want it potentially. You tell me that it just sends it out with nobody looking at all.
So AI is smart. We all know that, right? It's but it can get things wrong. And I've got a good story about this that was actually this morning. So this is a timely topic. A friend of mine shared on Facebook, in one of his groups that I'm part of. He's an SEO guy, right? So he shared that he had built, because he's built some automation type, things to do his process for SEO, competition, and all that kind of stuff, right? And really figuring out what the holes and the gaps are in the SEO strategy currently, right? Well, it came back with this report. He showed it to the client. The client said, "Those competitors are not my competitors. Those people are like chucking at trucks. That they're not my competitors," right? And so, and he went on in his post about how it's important to have that human in the middle, right? To ensure that we're not just trusting AI to do absolutely everything just yet, right? It might get that way to where we can, but it's just like a brand new employee, in my opinion, when they don't really know what to do, right? They know stuff, but it might not be right. Okay. Yeah. So you've got to kind of keep some checks and balances in place there until such time as you actually trust them to do the entire job, start to finish. At that point, and so it's the same thing with AI. I think at that point, eventually we're going to be there. But there's a lot of things that aren't, right? So you mentioned, I've got a few things with human in the middle. One of them is content, right? Because of that simple fact that it might not be right. And we've got to do some error checking and fact checking and ensure that the content itself is right and it's on brand. We're not saying something that the brand doesn't agree with, kind of a thing, so anyways, yes, 100%, 1,000% human in the middle at this point, when it comes to anything really with AI.
And I'll just dovetail into that because Chris, you're the we talked about the master prompt. You put it out first. So you're saying you're even pausing and you understand, and it's something we'll train on coming up here in the near future, how to build a master prompt, like 5-10 pages of your brand voice, your services, everything about your company, your ideal customer avatar, all that kind of stuff. So it already knows all that in your world, and I know it does. And you're still going, oh no, you're not posting that out without me looking at it or whatever. Right. So think 100%. Of the average person who goes, I don't even know what a master prompt is. Definitely have the human in the loop for that kind of stuff. What are you thinking, Laura?
Well, it comes back to what Chris was saying. And again, this is a topic we bring into, the conversation basically every week because of the importance. And when it comes to hiring and having those key people to our team, our employees, anybody that's helping us, it is true. We may say, here's our brand guide, here's X, Y, and Z, and provide them. We may do trainings with them, but it is stuff that gets forgotten or looked over. And even this week, when I was looking over our business e-newsletter that we send out, it was referring to an article that hadn't been posted for, a few issues back. So yes, even though it was having a conversation, it kept referring to something. I'm like, that's not even in this issue. So just as simple as that, it made me pause thinking, wait a minute, we're looking at a current thing. It's remembering something old, just like humans do as well. But having me look over it, having us as humans look over any of the AI work does help tremendously. And there, obviously you can find those oopses online a lot where people will call out when someone just printed something and actually went to physical print, like into a magazine without looking at it or, checking anything. And it was easily seen, ask me any questions or, can we finish this article? And they just copy, paste it, done, print it. And that went to full, out there that everybody's now seeing as a blooper. But human in the loop, very important no matter what we put in place.
Yeah, and don't go on X and follow politicians or any people like that, because you'll hear in the comments people, this was an AI post. I can tell you got the long ellipses, you got this wrong, you got that wrong, and they're getting busted for not even being authentic as like a world leader and stuff like that. So imagine, like it's a real thing. So, and I love those stories. What's your thought, Brad, on human in the loop and how clients and teams and just the general?
So some good things were shared already from our other cohorts here. Is that what you call you? Is that what I call you guys? Are you guys my cohorts?
Sure.
My partners in crime. So we've developed a new system that I think dovetails right off of what you just said, where we know how important and how popular website chats are now, and how AI integrates into those. And, that instant gratification that most customers nowadays are needing, they're like, okay, well, I just want to chat with somebody. I need a quick answer. What's your hours? What's the price for this? Where are you located? Whatever it is. So those things are becoming super commonplace now, where you have a chat bot or a chat of some sort on your website that can answer basic stuff. It's trained to do that, right? But what we've developed now is something where the human in the loop portion, where literally they can chat, they can actually have a voice conversation with an AI bot as well. But there's also a little button that says start a video call with a human. And because that part of it is a lot of times what people are looking for. Think about it this way. Let's say you're a female, Laura and Jen are out shopping on Rodeo Drive, and they're out looking at fancy clothes, right? And they may not want to talk to anybody just yet, because as Rodney Dangerfield used to say, I'm just browsing, right? But there comes a point where they need help, right? They need help of, okay, what about this? What is the thread count on this? What is this, right? So now they need to talk to a human. But before that, they really didn't want to be bothered, right? Well, it's the same thing with your website. People are going to be browsing, they're going to be looking at things, and maybe they don't want any help. Maybe they don't want to be interrupted or talk to a chatbot or talk to a person on a video. But that's really where it's going, and that's what we've developed, is where they literally, whenever they're ready, we can kind of nudge them and say, hey, I saw you had an interest in this. Did you want to talk? And so literally they just hit the button, and now, as long as it's not midnight, they could talk to a human to go face to face, because in all of our industries, there is that portion, our clients' industries, whatever it is, there is that point where show and tell, so to speak, is important to say, oh, well, I can show you this, or let's look at this, let's hear this, let's see this. You can't just do that with AI, but with a human, you can.
Yeah, and I'll put a pin in at the end of this. I fully agree with you. In my world, I like the average carpet cleaner to have a $500 to $800 residential job. If you're listening to this, carpet cleaners, and your jaw just dropped, I can show you how. But you can't do that if the bot is trying to self-book, because how do you influence a person who thinks carpet cleaning is 3 rooms in a hall for $99 that it isn't? And how can you run influencing? Well, that's scripting. That's all the stuff that we know how to do to sell a better product. There's a reason why people are willing to pay $10, $12, $15 for a Fufu Lapa Lapa coffee at Starbucks, but they pay $1.50 at Dunkin' Donuts and think it's a ripoff, right?
What kind of coffee was that? What kind of coffee was that?
Exactly. I am not that person that goes to Starbucks. So you guys can fill in the blanks. But another one is so my story was I talked to a client recently who decided to take over his own local service ads. I said, well, you go out in the field, you have a role to play that can generate a $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 a month carpet cleaning company worth of efforts if you follow a proven path. Local service ads, there are experts that can do that. Well, no, I just chat GPT, I got it all figured out. I'm stuck on a few things here, and this time I was like, okay, cool. So what did you do about image optimization? Well, I put images in. No. How did you optimize them to actually sell at a higher price than your competitors? What have you done? And I went down a list of 3 or 4 or 5 advanced strategies that we do, because we've been doing it for years now, and we know how to optimize for the highest end clientele to not get tire kicker calls. He goes, you know the answer to that, John. I'm going, yeah. So why don't you just hand that back over to us, or hand that over to us? He hadn't. And do these things I'm telling you that will land you $10,000 worth of work in the next 30 days. Because again, there's the human in the loop, and there's also the expert that knows how to maybe do a service where ChatGPT, like I would never go to ChatGPT and say, you know, whatever, I've got this ailment, this affliction, you know, what do I do? Oh, drink bleach. Okay, you know, whatever. Like there might be a point at which you get some advice, go to your doctor. I've got this. What do you think? Right. So again, just understand that there are still experts that need to finalize the decisions, like Chris said, like Brad said. But yeah, I just thought that's a great headline that, you know, industry leaders are stressing this as well. Guys and gals that are building billion-dollar companies using AI and automation are going, whoa, but don't let it just run rogue. Right. So,
not at all. Have those checks and balances in there and stop. And even if it's just having a quarterly check, start again small. But if as you feel like, okay, things are running with less checks between your teams checking it, maybe you as the business owner gets to just check in once in a while now. But definitely let those on your teams know who has what responsibilities to do that final check before things go live, before things continue posting. There's a lot of benefit, and it keeps you in with the conversation too. So especially we get some questions like, how can I just have, you know, AI automatically respond to posts, etc. Well, that takes you out of that conversation that's going on. If you know what questions they're asking online, guess what? You're going to be the expert they look at to say, please answer this for me. So I encourage them to stay especially involved in that. They may have somebody else on their team that does it daily, but hey, wrap up the report. Let me know what were the top questions being asked, because again, that gives you a way to get into those conversations.
Yeah. And you said something great. Wrap up that report and let me stay in. I'm going to go back to Chris for a second, because one of the things he shared with me that was amazing that we still do manually, that we don't do manually starting this week, is at the end of an EOS, entrepreneur operating system, running your L10 meetings. And Chris is now, it's like, of course, once you get, you know, into the beast, all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, this and this and this. And it's like, yeah. So wrap up the report. Maybe don't spend 3 hours writing the report. Maybe take the transcript of the meeting and have a really well-trained prompt, right? And so mention that a little bit, Chris, because like you do this better than most.
So I shared with y'all, right, some of my prompts that I've got for my shortcuts for Perplexity comment, right? And so one of those, like what you talked about, was after every meeting, and I shared this with my account management staff as well to help speed them up. Okay. Is essentially open up comment. I've got it set up as a shortcut. You could just copy and paste this prompt if you want to, but basically you're telling it, go into OneNote, because OneNote is what we use for all of our notes, and pull out all of the action items out of our notes that we took during the meeting. Okay. Now put those into ClickUp, which is the tool that we use for our project management, and assign those out, right? With a date due of next week, with whoever it's assigned to, and the urgency set to high. Okay. So it speeds you up. You can still look at those and go, not quite. And maybe it should be this, but that's like the 20% of the stuff that you have to do versus having to, because it was a horrible task. Honestly, I hated it.
It's terrible.
Right. And I'm when it comes to this kind of stuff, I'm like, what is the stuff that I hate doing? That's what I'm going to automate as much as I possibly can. Right. I'm going to spend 2 hours trying to figure out how to automate a 5-minute task, but I'm still going to do it because I hate doing it. And so therefore it gets put off. Right. And so that's how I approach that kind of stuff. But coming full circle back to that human in the middle, you still have to have that in all sorts of things at this point, like I've already said. So
I think the best way to think of that as well, I'm just going to put a point in this and then we'll move on, but is, so Dan Martell, if we think in frameworks really help us identify, do the same things over and over again in a great way to teach our team, like your employees, here's the framework of how we're going to arrive on a job and do a roof. Here's the framework, frameworks, everything's a framework. So now you can visualize it, see it, train on it, stuff like that. Dan Martell's got a bunch of really cool frameworks in Buy Back Your Time. 10-80-10 is a great one. 10% identify the task at hand, what it is. So in the AI world, write a great instruction. That's what Chris just said. 80%, let Comet Browser turn blue and go do stuff, other things on your computer. It's working in the background. Let it do one step at a time as an agent, right? It's running agentically. And then have it pause and not do or not post or not finalize, leave it in draft mode, and you come back and do the other 10. So whether that's 10 employee, I want this done, come back to me when you're ready with this entire new brand kit, this thing, whatever, this new marketing, whatever it is. Think of your bit. And then at the 10 on the end, I will see what you did, readjust, and then we'll deploy. Well, that's the same framework. Just put an agent in the middle where it can. Same thought process. So cool. So I think, again, great headline, great thought process. Hopefully we help people start thinking through a whole bunch of really cool ideas. Speaking of cool ideas, we're at the segment of the show where we share some cool ideas. And I know Brad's got something he wants to share. I don't even think he told us what it was, but he said it'd take 2 or 3, 4 minutes. So what do you got for us, Brad?
Well, it's top secret, but I'm about to reveal it because you guys don't even know how cool this is, right? So we talked a little bit about, obviously, human in the loop, but also time saving and systematizing things, right? And so whether you're using ChatGPT or Gemini or any of the other well-known ones, this tool, which is very new to me, is pretty powerful. So I'm going to share screen. Okay. So what this does is it's an extension and it's a paid service. So it's not very expensive. It's called Pretty Prompt. All right. So when you're in ChatGPT, I know myself and several people on my team, my wife, whoever it is, struggle with how to put a good prompt in there, right? So I made it as super simple as possible so that I can emphasize how this works. So, whether you're creating images, whether you're creating blog posts, whether you're doing any number of things in your LLM, now with this little extension here, I can say, okay, make me a nice photo of birds in Colorado. This is super generic, right? I mean, ChatGPT could probably do something with it normally, but it's kind of lost, right? But with this, I could say improve the prompt, refine the prompt, or go to my prompt library, right? So for my team who struggle, I could have a whole prompt library they can pick from for repetitive tasks, right? But if I go to improve the prompt, it's going to quickly take what I had there, right? And it's going to make me a really nice prompt, right?
Really?
And so it's saying, you're an expert in nature wildlife photographer specializing in blah, blah, blah. The image must be a nice photo. It's going to talk about this, right? So it can create it for you. And then, of course, you would just apply it and then create what you're going to create. Or you could hit the refine button here where now it's, giving you, okay, I'm in Colorado. And so what specific type of bird are we even going to talk about, right? So I'm going to say birds of prey. And then I'm going to say what kind of setting. I live in the forest. So that sounds cool, but this one sounds cool better, like near the river, what artistic. I want it to be hyper realistic, sharp focus, right? And then submit my answers, and then away it goes, right? So this is just, to me, a time saver where now, again, it's got my refined prompt in there, which if I had to figure that out, I might as well have went to a stock photo place or something to try to just buy a photo by the time it would have taken me to write a prompt this detailed, right? I just hit apply, boom, done. I've got what I need.
Brad, can you go ahead and hit apply? Because I think some of our viewers and even the listeners might be unfamiliar with one of the new tools as well, is when it's creating an image. Now you're able to, once you see the image, you're actually able to use the Adobe Acrobat to refine your image. Now it's limited and it's very much limited. Like you can remove the background and it's rough and everything, but that is an upgrade that I've been seeing that surprised me. So as you're working with something like this and you have an image created by ChatGPT, you'd be able to refine it now.
Yep, you sure could. Yep, there's a lot of things you can do with screenshots or other images. You can mark up screenshots these days of what you're trying to explain to AI and then put it in there. But yeah, this.
Yeah. If you go back a year ago and you went into Flux, so I went down this rabbit hole to try and get better pictures, more lifelike to me before Nano Banana came out and all that stuff. And I went down some rabbit holes on Reddit and other places like that. And the guys and gals that were getting really great images, they're talking about the camera aperture and what kind of camera, and like it was this whole, and I'm going, I just typed in, I want a picture of me looking like Santa Claus. And they're going, oh, heck no. You had to learn all of what LoRa what the heck's a LoRa? It's like, I thought that was a friend of mine down the street, right? So that we had coffee last week or so. Anyways, so I realized that I had no clue. Brad has just realized that I am now brilliant because I don't need to have a clue. And it will help. And then if it turns out wrong, you can, like, again, any AI, I assume you could probably take it back in and go, wow, that wasn't quite right. This is what I got. How do we fix it? Right?
Sure
Refine it.
Yep.
Right? Exactly. So cool.
That's a great share.
Yeah, great share.
Thank you.
Does that tool work with multiple LLMs or is it only ChatGPT?
ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude. From what I understand, it can now integrate into things like Lovable when you're doing vibe coding. It's insane. And what I'm seeing as well is this particular software is low cost, but there's a lot of investment into it, and it's growing fast. What, John?
What is the cost?
I don't know. I got a lifetime deal on it because you know me.
Hey, of course you did. So anybody wants to just ping Brad privately about how to get lifetime deals on things, he is my go-to on lifetime deals as well, just so we all know. So I got one share. I want to share as well because I do a lot of two things. One, do a lot of thinking when I'm talking. Turns out it's my style. Learned that over doing a personality thing over the Christmas break. But I do talk and brainstorm, and I do a lot of thinking and ideation when I'm driving. I'll listen. I'll put like a YouTube podcast. I'm not watching it or whatever. Learn something, and I'm like, oh, that's great. And I was used to like trying to write it down on a notepad in front of me and driving into traffic and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I usually drive alone, as my family says. But now I've got this down to a science where on my phone, I'll show it to you. I'll share my screen, but on my phone, I've got Perplexity, and then I've got my Comet browser or Perplexity. Perplexity is cool because it can read YouTube transcripts. So the cool thing about that is you don't have to, like, where ChatGPT is can't do that yet. Perplexity can. So if I go to entire screen, and it will be.
While John's doing that, it's $5 to $10 a month for a pretty prompt.
Oh, that's nothing.
Oh, nice.
Right?
Is it a Chrome extension, Brad?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, that's brilliant.
But you can
check
use
the show notes. We'll put a link in the show notes. I can't guarantee it's not an affiliate link if Brad's got an affiliate link, but that means you pay the same price and Brad makes some money. But we'll talk about that on another episode. So here, for example, today, just before we jumped on, I watched this YouTube video. So I'll just click on this. So again, it was on my phone, just my iPhone. I watched the YouTube video, copied the link, moved it into Perplexity, right? And so now it's sitting in my library. I said, here's the YouTube link. I'm creating a custom GPT on project to train. It's for some communication coaching and things like that, better webinars, things like that. All this kind of stuff, right? And the guy's name apparently is Joseph Czar. I'd never heard this guy before. And I just told it I would like a summary of this and a document that I can add because, again, I use multiple LLMs, but over in ChatGPT, I have my communication coaching project, right? So I started a project. It's trained on a book called The Coaching Habit by Michael Bungay. It's Surrounded by Idiots. Lovely book, actually. So these are the PDFs of the books that I bought. And then Crucial Confrontations, and then my own personality assessment and stuff like that. So inside this project, I can have any conversations I want about different things, create me a training program. Let's have a conversation back and forth. Give me a scenario, a confrontation. Let's banter it out because, literally just talk to my gal Sam is what I call her. But now because of that call, I can now take this document right here, This is sort of it summarizing it and giving me of the frameworks that it talked about, the power arc, the give, getting, scale, and all of that kind of stuff, and other links to this the communication coach. The only thing I'm going to do right now is the next prompt I will give it will be, and I won't type it, I'm just going to speak it and just say, can you put that into markdown language in a code frame so I can easily copy it? Because then you have a little copy button up there, and paste it into my communication log, or paste it in as another file for the whole entire the whole entire project. So now this project is all about just this thing. I've got a project with my finances and my life and all this stuff. I've got one about our messaging. And so this project is now just about communication. So I can, when I go to do a presentation, I can say, hey, I'm going to do this presentation. How would I make this point more clearly? Right? Give me some ideas, stuff like that. I can triage after I've done something that didn't land well. Hey, this didn't land well. Here's my transcript. Based on all of this, what should I have done? Right? And all of that is, so the two hacks in one there. While you're out and about, you see something, you hear something on your phone, just have Perplexity, pop it in. Next time you go onto your computer, it's sitting in your library, just have the same account. And now you can do it. You can use just all the way through Perplexity and use it in a shortcut, which is pretty much similar, and spaces are like projects, or you can bounce between tools. And now you're just being way more effective, and without having to touch the keyboard or type a word. It's all done by talking.
Wait a minute. You're doing all this at 80 miles an hour, John? I think that this is illegal.
All this. Well, I was actually going 120 kilometers an hour. I'm Canadian.
That's right.
So
you're in Canada, so it's kilometers.
Yeah. Anyways, so I grab my McDonald's coffee, do a loop around the countryside, listen to something, give it some thought. That's my lunch break. And I usually come back with ideas that I can't enact right away. And it was notes all over my desk. Now it's a framework for the next time I get to it.
That's fantastic.
Love that.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I think we've, like we always do, drinking from a fire hydrant. I think we've left our audience with a lot to think about and stuff like that. Any famous last words from the panel on what's coming up? Any thoughts on or anything like that before we wrap her up?
I will bring to the table next week's Google LM that it just elevated my slides like no tomorrow. I was really impressed with, that's where I get bogged down when I'm doing these talks and the presentations that I've been out doing some speaking on AI. And what they have put in place allows you, if you just put a framework around what you want in your presentations, it now has a very uniformed look, where before when I demonstrated, it was one slide at a time. In Google Slides, now bringing it up through Google LM, the notebook, it's amazing. It's just amazing for Notebook LM.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to see that. So hopefully everybody tunes in next week for that one. And with that said, make sure you like, follow, subscribe, tell your friends about it, share it out. We're here to help you understand this world as it rapidly changes. In the comments, anything you want to hear about, any advice, positive, negative, anything like that, keep an eye on the description for Brad's link. And with that said, we bid you a fond adieu till next week, and happy marketing.